She walked into Paris carrying someone else's bag, and the entire fashion world went silent. Not a single statement was issued. No public accusation was made. Yet within days the fallout was already in motion, quietly, deliberately, and with devastating precision. In February 2026, a custom-made monogrammed Balenciaga bag, commissioned by Zara vanished just days before one of the year's most anticipated charity galas. What followed rattled both the palace and the high fashion world, sending whispers through elite circles about privilege, entitlement, and the razor-thin line between influence and overreach. Less than a week after the disappearance, the same bag appeared on Meghan Markle's arm in Paris, a sighting that ignited a quiet but brutal scandal. For years, both the palace and the fashion industry had been monitoring her moves carefully, tracking every collaboration, endorsement, and public appearance. So how could a highly exclusive custom handbag disappear from one woman and reappear on another without any explanation? And why did Balenciaga and the palace respond with such deliberate, chilling silence? To understand how this understated drama escalated, you need to trace the chain of events that led to Meghan being quietly blacklisted from key fashion partnerships. Everything started with a bag, an object that in the right circles symbolizes far more than style. It represents status, influence, and carefully maintained trust. In early February 2026, Zara was preparing for the Women in Economic Leadership Gala, a charity event where she wasn't just a guest, she was practically a co-host, positioning herself at the center of a world that values poise, discretion, and strategic networking. For Zara, this gala was a significant milestone. Over recent years, she had carefully cultivated an image as a modern, no-drama powerhouse, an Olympic champion, a mother, an entrepreneur, and the wife of rugby star Mike Tindall, with a distinct identity entirely removed from royal theatrics. She holds no royal title, yet in the eyes of elite society she possessed something far more precious than a crown: respect. Zara is the anti-drama royal, someone who shows up, does her work, and leaves without leaks, scandals, or tabloid debris in her wake. For this particular gala, she worked directly with Balenciaga to create a handbag built entirely around her vision. This wasn't a matter of picking a standard piece and adding initials. The project involved multiple design consultations, material selections, and meticulous craftsmanship. A limited edition crocodile embossed clutch, hand-finished and discreetly monogrammed. The piece was intended to represent not only Zara's evolving fashion presence but her growing influence in circles where authenticity and discretion are everything. The bag was completed and carefully stored at Balenciaga's London showroom under Zara's name with a confirmed pickup date. Everything was organized, planned, and executed with precision. Then, just days before the gala, her team received the call. The bag was gone. Balenciaga's response was immediate but frustratingly vague. Apologies, phrases like regrettable logistical error and internal confusion. Corporate language that sounds sincere but explains nothing. Those close to Zara say she was furious but handled it with professionalism. She attended the gala with a different accessory, made no scene, and the public moved on. But the story didn't end there. About a week later, someone in Balenciaga's Paris office was reviewing internal event photos when a single image made them stop cold. There was Meghan Markle, dressed head to toe in Balenciaga, entering a PR firm on the left bank, with Zara's missing monogrammed clutch on her arm. The exact same one. Initial confusion quickly turned to serious concern. Meghan was not a confirmed brand ambassador. Her name appeared on no official partnership lists. She had attended Paris Fashion Week, yes, but thousands do, and attendance alone doesn't make anyone an official partner. Balenciaga now faced a dilemma. A highly exclusive custom bag belonging to a respected working royal and legitimate client had somehow ended up in the hands of someone actively pursuing an ambassadorship that didn't yet exist. The fashion house moved swiftly and quietly. Contract negotiations with Meghan, which had been progressing slowly, were immediately frozen. In corporate terms, that signals, we need to reassess before moving forward. And in fashion circles, word travels fast. When a major house freezes talks, it signals caution and potential reputational risk. The next question was obvious. How did Meghan get the bag? And how did Zara respond once she found out? The answers revealed everything about the contrast between these two women. Zara didn't post about it, leak to the press, or involve royal family members. Instead, through her private secretary, she submitted a formal, respectful inquiry directly to Balenciaga. The bag had been reserved, it went missing. It had now appeared publicly elsewhere. What had happened? Luxury fashion houses keep meticulous records, every piece, every client, every transaction documented. When Zara asked her question, Balenciaga had no choice but to investigate. What they uncovered was a troubling pattern. Items borrowed from shoots that were never returned, pieces used in personal appearances without prior approval, and requests submitted through unofficial channels. Nothing illegal, but far from industry standard practice. Then there was Meghan's Paris appearance itself. Her team had implied she'd received a personal invitation from creative director Demna Gvasalia, but internal PR records told a different story. She wasn't on VIP lists, hadn't received official approval, and had essentially performed the role of brand ambassador without authorization, wearing the clothes, carrying the bag, and projecting an affiliation that simply didn't exist. Fashion brands cannot tolerate this. It disrupts the careful curation of relationships and erodes trust with legitimate partners. Balenciaga's response was quiet and calculated. Pause talks, create distance, and reassess. Zara, with her signature composure, said nothing publicly, letting the silence speak for itself. Meghan, however, moved quickly to control the narrative. Within 24 hours, her team released a polished video teaser for a new project called With Love, Meghan. Cinematic, glossy, featuring her in Paris, showcasing luxury accessories, including the very bag that had caused the stir. Palace insiders called the timing a deliberate provocation. Zara had attended a prestigious gala. Meghan staged a Parisian showcase and put the missing handbag front and center. Industry insiders called it a flex, an attempt to assert relevance in elite fashion circles. But Meghan had badly misjudged the consequences. Executives, PR teams, and creative directors communicate constantly. What she intended as a power move, they viewed as a cautionary tale. Is she serious? The audacity was remarkable, but the fallout was worse. Balenciaga quietly distanced itself further, and Zara remained composed and silent. The contrast could not have been starker. One woman commanded respect through discretion and professionalism. The other staged a spectacle that highlighted ambition over judgment. The handbag wasn't just a bag, it was the spark that revealed strategy, influence, missteps, and a power struggle playing out in the ruthless, glamorous world of high fashion. And the audacity was almost impressive because everyone could see exactly what she was doing, trying to project herself as a major fashion force, while the very houses she was courting were actively backing away. The trouble escalated faster than anyone expected. When journalists sought confirmation from Balenciaga of Meghan's supposed personal invitation from their creative director, the response was glacial. Miss Markle attended Paris Fashion Week. Many people attend Paris Fashion Week. That was it. No confirmation, no acknowledgement, no recognition of any official relationship. Neutral in tone, devastating in implication. The message was unmistakable. We want no part of this. Meghan pivoted quickly. Social media posts alluded to misogynistic narratives, institutional sabotage, and whispered claims that she was being systematically excluded from elite circles. While she never named Balenciaga, almost certainly on legal advice, the implication was clear. She was being persecuted for her success, for challenging established power, for being a threat. But the world had seen this act before, the same narrative she'd deployed since 2020, victimhood over accountability, was beginning to feel exhausted. One anonymous royal source summed it up bluntly: victimhood over accountability, every single time. Meanwhile, Zara Tindall continued living her life with quiet confidence. She appeared at the Cartier British Polo Awards in a sharp, tailored white suit by Victoria Beckham, a subtle nod to British craftsmanship and to the working royals around her. The photographs went viral, not because Zara sought attention, but because she was simply that compelling. Every angle radiated understated power, the kind of fashion authority you cannot manufacture. Critics and commentators were transfixed. Modern restraint, aristocratic ease, effortless elegance. The contrast with Meghan's frantic narrative management couldn't have been more complete. One camp was chasing validation. The other simply existed within it. As the chaos unfolded, Princess Anne had been watching closely, and Anne doesn't respond through tabloids, leaks, or public statements. She works through the machinery of the institution she knows more intimately than perhaps anyone alive, delivering her message silently, precisely, and without leaving fingerprints. According to staff present at internal meetings, Anne initiated what was described as a family-level review of how royal-adjacent figures were aligning themselves with commercial entities, framed as routine housekeeping on paper. In reality, a methodical examination of every one of Meghan's commercial moves without ever publicly acknowledging her existence. The review examined royal connections leveraged in brand negotiations, unauthorized acquisition of fashion items, and the use of social media to create impressions of official partnerships that had never been sanctioned. One long-standing palace advisor described it as vintage Anne. You never see her flinch, but you feel the walls closing in. She also quietly reactivated her personal advisory group on public image, dormant since Queen Elizabeth's passing. Their first mandate: elevate figures like Zara Tyndall, Lady Louise Windsor, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, as quiet embodiments of the Crown's values. While Meghan dominated headlines through scandal-driven content, the working royals were repositioning themselves as everything the monarchy genuinely represents: service, dignity, discretion, and unwavering consistency. Anne's directive was clear: the Crown does not engage on social media, the Crown does not chase press cycles, the Crown endures. A formal non-engagement protocol was established. Meghan's provocations would be met with silence, allowing her theatrics to collapse beneath their own weight. And they did. While Meghan posted videos hinting at hidden truths and shadow conspiracies, the actual working royals calmly fulfilled their duties. Zara attended charity events with grace. Sophie supported her patronages seamlessly. Catherine returned to public life after her health challenges, demonstrating poise and stability that no manufactured moment could replicate. The fashion world's response was equally unambiguous. Blacklisting, when it happens in that world, is never announced. It simply manifests as invitations that stop arriving, calls that go unreturned, and interest that quietly evaporates. Chanel, which had been in early talks with Meghan for a sustainability collaboration, ended discussions without explanation, and instead partnered with Zara on an equestrian-inspired capsule collection that ran in vogue. Zara photographed naturally, authentically in her element. Dior and Burberry both declined approaches from Meghan's team. A French PR director put it plainly: she doesn't represent discretion, and discretion is our currency. Zara's calendar, meanwhile, filled effortlessly, co-hosting the royal charity Polo, leading equestrian programs at the Commonwealth Youth Games, and appearing in Harper's Bazaar UK's Legacy and Lineage issue. She wasn't pushing narratives or engineering moments. The opportunities arrived because she had spent years simply being consistent. Even Meghan's charitable foundation came under scrutiny. Discrepancies between reported expenses and actual project outcomes drew attention. Tyler Perry, once a significant source of support, reportedly stepped back after Harry returned to the UK for private meetings with Palace legal counsel. Meghan's isolation deepened and her social media presence grew erratic. One day polished empowerment content, the next cryptic implications of revelations capable of burning everything down. But the people she was gesturing toward weren't intimidated. They had endured deaths of monarchs, constitutional crises, and global-scale scandals. Meghan's implied threats weren't dangerous. They were, as one insider noted quietly, simply sad. As Meghan's situation deteriorated, a quiet strategic alignment took shape within royal circles. Lady Louise Windsor was photographed leaving Zara's London residence the morning after the Paris bag story exploded online. Discreetly dressed, no statement, but the message unmistakable. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, subsequently hosted both Zara and Lady Louise at a private equestrian event in Oxfordshire, reinforcing the understated solidarity being built behind the scenes. Catherine's return to public life carried its own statement. Her first major appearance following her health recovery came at a London charity gala on February 12, 2026, in a restructured ivory gown drawn directly from the royal archives, originally worn by Queen Elizabeth II in 1969. A royal fashion historian noted the choice was anything but random. It signaled continuity. institutional authority and a quiet alignment with values Meghan had spent years attempting to sidestep. Catherine and Zara had never been especially close, their interactions politely formal, but both understood, without needing to say it, that silence at the right moment carries more authority than any public counter-statement. When Meghan began posting cryptic threats about releasing private communications, Catherine let the gown make the argument. The unified approach, don't engage, don't defend, don't explain, just continue the work, proved devastatingly effective. Meghan's attempts to pull them into public confrontation landed in a void. Then came the letter. In early March 2026, a sealed document was hand-delivered via courier to a London legal firm representing one of the palace's charitable partners. Carefully worded but unambiguous. If what Meghan characterized as defamatory implications continued, she would consider releasing archived private communications involving unnamed senior royals. The palace's response, complete indifference. Anne's instruction had been unequivocal from the start. Ignore it. And so, with the institutional calm of an organization that has weathered far greater pressures, palace staff did exactly that. What Meghan had not anticipated was how publicly the threats themselves would register. Even sympathetic observers started questioning whether someone threatening to release private correspondence could credibly claim the moral high ground. Long-standing supporters grew visibly uneasy. Victimhood as strategy has a shelf life, and it had expired. At precisely this moment, Zara was offered the co-hosting role at the Royal Ascot-style pavilion, a position that had once been floated for Meghan herself in 2020, before her own choices made it impossible. At a Glasgow horse trials event, a journalist raised Meghan's latest social media post, an image of her in a near replica of one of Zara's Ascot looks, captioned, "Real class needs no bloodline." Zara paused, blinked once, then answered, "Some of us ride horses, some of us ride headlines. I prefer the former." She walked away and returned to her work. Within 24 hours, the line had been picked up by over 300 outlets, calm, cutting, and completely effortless. Sources close to Princess Anne noted she raised an approving eyebrow upon hearing it, which, in Anne's world, amounts to a standing ovation. Shortly after, Anne arranged for a personal letter to be couriered to Meghan in Montecito through diplomatic channels. Its contents were never made public, but insiders briefed on its tone described it as composed, direct, and morally grounded. Not an attack, not a conventional olive branch, something more deliberate altogether. It reportedly conveyed a straightforward truth, that royalty isn't simply inherited. It is earned in the quiet spaces between headlines, through the consistent and disciplined execution of duty, not through the volume of one's public statements or the timing of one's social media posts. It offered Meghan a choice: return to genuine public service, not as a celebrity figure performing at the edges of influence, but as someone capable of choosing legacy over leverage. Meghan did not respond. Within days, the Archewell Foundation's troubles intensified. IRS scrutiny sharpened over discrepancies between reported spending and documented outcomes. Former employees were subpoenaed. These were not palace whispers or tabloid speculation. They were American federal investigators following documented paper trails back to London. Prince William ordered a review of all Sussex-era institutional communications. Catherine quietly advised patrons to reassess active collaborations with Archewell-linked initiatives. And when a press aide asked Zara whether she planned to say anything publicly about the Markle situation, her reply was characteristically final. "If you know what you're doing, you don't need to explain what you didn't do." That line, more than any statement issued by any palace official, captured the entire arc of what had unfolded, and why it ended the way it did. The story leaves one question unresolved. Was the handbag incident deliberately engineered, or was it a genuine failure of judgment, calculated misdirection, or simply the moment someone overestimated how far their influence could stretch? Whatever the answer, the consequences were unambiguous. Every misstep, every threat, every ill-timed post shifted perception further, isolating Meghan from the world she believed she could command. What's your take, self-inflicted, or is there more beneath the surface than anyone realizes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth royal coverage, and click the next video. You won't want to miss what happens next behind the palace doors.